Well, today's topic's a fun one because we're in the book of Colossians and we're talking about how Jesus transforms a family, and we're going to talk about it as a family, and then you guys can talk about it as a family also. Now, before we get to Tracy and Kenzie and AJ, I want to just read our text for today, so read it with me as we go through this. Colossians 3:20 says, "Children, always obey your parents, for this pleases the Lord." And then verse 21 says, "Fathers, don't aggravate your children, or they will become discouraged." And that's really our text for today. A message to children, a message to fathers and mothers, to parents. And so why don't we just start with this question. How normal is it for kids these days to obey their parents? Kids, what would you say to that?
Probably not very normal.
Yeah.
It's so easy to fool parents these days with social media, and my friends like to sneak out a lot or just kind of disregard everything their parents say.
Yeah, and you have actually pretty decent friends, and even your friends do that.
Yeah.
And they kind of have to sneak around on their parents a little bit. Mm-hmm. AJ, for you, are your friends any better?
No. They're pretty horrible.
No
offense, friends.
They're not horrible.
Well, the fact that they're not going to watch this says something.
But I do think there is something culturally that kids, you guys just think it's okay. It's okay to lie. Mm-hmm. It's okay to sneak out or withhold. With social media, the apps, different ways you can outsmart your parents pretty easily.
But we're talking about Christian kids and Christian homes specifically because this passage is talking about kind of in a perfect world, and there's no perfect world, there's no perfect family, but in a perfect world, the parents are submitted to Christ and the kids are submitted to Christ, and so therefore everything should transform the way parents and kids interact. But sadly, that doesn't even happen in Christian homes a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about this first point, and it's really for kids. Kids should obey their parents because it pleases the Lord. So there are a lot of motivators for obeying their parents, but sort of the number one motivator in this text is, well, because it pleases God to do it. Not just because you don't want to get punished or because you want to get a reward or something like that. Those are fine too. But first and foremost, because it pleases God to obey your parents. Would you say that's a motivator for you guys? Is that one of the reasons that you obey us?
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to go to hell.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure that that's what that text is saying.
Hey, man. No.
So you do it out of guilt? You're obedient to us out of guilt? You'd feel guilty otherwise?
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
Because I'd tell you guys if I do anything. Mom, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, but I think that's the role of the Holy Spirit in your heart, that if you feel conviction when you feel like maybe you made a choice you shouldn't make, that you'll come and talk to us about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think that there's something to say. Kenzie's getting ready to go to college, and I don't want her motivation for obeying us to be because we've just had this tight control over her and she's just doing it. But now as soon as you leave the house this summer and go to college, you'll just be like, hey, a whole new way to live. My hope is that because you'll continue to want to honor God, just like you wanted to honor God by obeying our rules.